What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man, and I hope all is well with you, and I hope you're feeling great. And just remember, if you're not feeling great, shut off the thoughts or prompt yourself some questions that will get you thinking about something else, so that way you can change those thoughts and then change the emotions in your situation. Remember, once again, life is just an accumulation of situations and decisions that we make over time. And it's in those decision-making situations that really create our next outcome, right? And it's influence creates thoughts, thoughts create emotions, emotions drive these actions and decisions within these situations that then create an outcome, which leads us to another situation. And that, my friends, over a long period of time, is life. Okay, so I want to touch base a little bit on journaling because the last episode I talked about that I journaled for a little bit. And I think between journaling and what I'm doing now when it comes to just sharing some thoughts with everyone is really journaling as well, right? And in the last episode, I talked about how I went through a certain situation. It made me feel a certain way. I was having these thoughts. And then that night I was trying to, record a podcast about it. And it led me to a few different perspectives from the perspective that I initially had when I was initially in the situation and I was like in the grass, if you will. But then at night, it gave me a higher level perspective on it. And I realized that it wasn't, of course we need to take consideration into other people's situations in terms of what they may be doing behind the scenes, of course, and maybe not get some sort of credit because that's how I felt. But really the aha moment for me was as the individual taking responsibility for a certain action or situation that I said I was going to do for someone else, then when I take responsibility, it should be to the best of my ability and to make sure that when that situation does happen in real time, that everyone... that you get what you really wanted to get out of the situation, right? That it resulted in something that everyone was expecting, right? Expectations is a big thing, and I think that'll be another one that we can talk about is sometimes having too high of expectations or having an expectation that we put in our own brain, in our own heads, and then when we get to that situation, it's like, well, wah, wah, wah. You know what I mean? It was something that you were expecting more, but you didn't get, and then all of a sudden you kind of put yourself down. So I think having a realization or a realistic expectation, or even just challenging the expectations in certain points, in certain areas with maybe certain people, maybe even yourself in certain arenas because you're still working at it. To think that you're going to lose 100 pounds in 2 days or 3 days, as an example, you set yourself up for an expectation that may lead you to not want to continue or progress on it. So we'll talk about that, I guess, in a different episode. But yeah, expectations. This one I want to talk about journaling and getting your thoughts out there, and even taking some time, or even if it's a day for yourself to do things like this, where you can, maybe write down a couple of situations that you were in, or maybe your most recent situation that you weren't really feeling well, and really taking this framework that we're sharing and applying it, and really going in depth to it. Writing out, hey, what was the outcome? Was I happy, not happy? Obviously, we want to focus on the ones that don't make you feel well, or don't make you feel good, or put you in a higher emotional state that, preempts you to react versus, be present and then make a good decision for yourself and those people that you surround yourself with. So I really would encourage you to ask yourself, what is it? What is it going to be? Journaling? Is it going to be potentially, starting a podcast? That would be awesome, right? Like, I would feel like Yoda a little bit, right? We talk about being a Jedi mind master, and I think that's the level. This is basically what we're trying to do. Is I want to share all this information, and we'll get other people on here too, and then really see how we can refer it back to the framework, because I feel like the framework is super important when it comes to really just understanding how to approach things that we want to change in our lives towards a more positive level. So that being said, I would really encourage you. I would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, even if it's voice memo or voice notes. There was something I had shared with a buddy of mine And I'll leave the link. I'll leave the link on the description on YouTube as well. Before, the individual had tons of rage growing up, and his therapist had suggested to identify like those moments, and then instead of being so angry and hateful towards yourself for not doing it correctly or not succeeding or whatever it is, instead of beating yourself up like or tormenting yourself or letting, like we were talking about before, the tyrant ego come out and just make you feel like shit. He's like, the therapist had suggested to identify those moments, take out the voice recorder on your phone, and pretend that you're not talking to yourself, but you're talking to a friend. And for that individual, like for that person, instead of being so demeaning to himself, he was, rather nicer to friends or rather nicer to other people. So like it was a journaling sort method, or this method of going back or being in the moment and then talking to somebody else because you most likely would be nicer to that person. That helped his internal conversation. And then he said in like 3 to 4 months, he started losing this self-hatred or self-anger when it came to, certain things that I would again say, expected from himself, set this expectation, and then never got to it or wasn't good enough for his internal being. And he was just being really self-damaging. So, that could be something, if that's something that you may be going through, that could be something to take a look at. And my friend had said, my homie had said that he's gonna try that out because sometimes, he's dealing with it. So I feel like really the point of today is, one, ask yourself, hey, do I give myself enough time to actually reflect, right? One is reflection of certain situations in terms of, what have happened, what has happened, what was I feeling, what were my influence at the time, what were my thoughts or my emotions, and then what made me react or decide to take that action. Do you give yourself enough time to reflect? And then two, how do you reflect? What's the medium that you're using? Is it, again, taking the phone out, speaking it, listening to it, podcasting, getting your thoughts out there, journaling, I started journaling back in 2020 because I was in this potential, just like not feeling good about myself, not feeling like I was a failure, et cetera, like things that we've talked about. But journaling, I think, really helped for a certain situation. And then after a year, I slowly stopped writing. But then I think this is something that I was doing more. And sometimes also having another person, right? Another person that you trust and value, like your other half. My other half, she listens when I have, or sometimes she'll pretend to listen, but she's there for me for sure. When I replay certain situations and I get feedback, or sometimes, she just listens and she's almost the audience that I can talk to. And then sometimes while talking to her, she either helps me present with some other points of perspective, or, while me just reiterating or reflecting, I come up with certain reflection points and perspectives that I'm like, oh, wow, maybe I didn't think of it that way. So really just this one, I would say, if you don't have, if you haven't given yourself that, or if you don't have that as a practice or as a routine, I would highly recommend something along those lines, giving yourself time to reflect, whether it's a day or a couple minutes a day or, an hour. Usually, the morning routines help me too. So like sometimes, when I go out and do breath work, go out and stretch, like sometimes I'll do that as well. So, see, like even right now talking about it, I'm like, those are my, that's why that's why I do the routines. Not only does my body feel good, but it does help get me in this reflective mode in certain times, and then understand, and then I guess understand it, right? Like understand the situation and not be so stressed out over it, and keep fucking badgering my brain around it. And then, imagine that you have a bunch of thoughts and a bunch of situations, how things could have gone, and then, you jump right into work. Of course, they're going to affect you subconsciously. So, again, recommendation, if you haven't journaled, or if you haven't reflected, or if you haven't somehow given yourself some time throughout the day or even throughout the week to go back and think about certain situations that, you may wanted to do it, get a different outcome or make different decisions, I would highly recommend doing something like that. So I'm going to leave you now, but before I leave you, I am going to randomly, let's see, I'm randomly going to read you one of my journal entries. Let's see. Okay, this one is from 12/3/22. So December, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this one. December 1st, 2020. Okay, well, happy birthday to you. Today I'm a bit nervous. Just reading that made me not nervous. LOL. What do I have to be nervous about? I have a plan. I have enough cash flow for another 30 days, and I'm fired up. There are quite a few ventures that you have to surpass. Quite a few things that you need to do, but who better than you? I feel even better after speaking with Sid. I look forward to this growth venture. I want to feel abundant in health and wealth. I want to feel like I don't have any financial worry. I want to feel abundant in everything we do. I feel appreciated. I feel loved without the birthday wishes. Oh, with all the birthday wishes. I hope this moment carries throughout everything else I'm doing. Thank you to everyone who has supported me on this journey. I love you. I love you, Wilson. You are here and you have arrived. Today I will be loving, thoughtful, continue working on what I'm passionate about. That was 12/1/2020. So as you can see, was that 3 years ago? 3 years ago, dealing with certain situations and feelings and stuff like that. And so it helped me. It helped me for a while. And then I got to a point where, journaling, just the writing down aspect, was something that I didn't do. I stopped doing it. Maybe I will go back to it, but I feel like I've also picked up other things that have helped me journal as well without actually having to write things down. And this is one of them. So I want to thank you for being on the journey. I appreciate you guys. Keep crushing it. Remember, it's all the thoughts in our head. You can either shut them down, become a Jedi Master, which you will. We're all going to get there, right? We're all going to become a Jedi Mind Master one day and be able to just shut them down. But until then, you use the Force and create prompts and ask yourself other questions that'll get you away from thinking this way. Put yourself in a different situation, so that way you're feeling differently. All right? Everything's temporary. Everything does matter, but at the same time, it doesn't. So have a great day. Keep crushing it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. Peace.